The woman only went to the sea to take a bath, but when she came ashore, she found that her husband had secretly taken off his pants and used his belt to tie his legs tightly together while climbing a tall coconut tree. This made the woman both curious and baffled, so she immediately dressed and rushed into the coconut grove, but when she quietly approached, she discovered her husband was romancing another woman. Furious, she gasped, but still held back her anger and listened for 2 hours before calmly speaking. The guilt-ridden man quickly racked his brain to explain to his angry wife that he was just climbing for coconuts. The woman nodded slightly as though brewing a sinister plan. Soon, the sunset's glow faded, and she thoughtfully touched her husband's forehead, but kept her eyes fixed on the luxurious yacht by the shore. The next morning, the man was awakened by the sea, and she menacingly approached him. After hearing his wife's explanation, the man's misfortune was evident, but he decided to turn the tables and secretly follow her when she went to find water. Sure enough, he spotted the yacht hidden in a gorge cave. It turned out his wife wanted to hide the boat and phone to trap him on the deserted island forever. However, the man did not expose this and instead pretended to enjoy Red Dove on the beach with her, all the while eyeing the key around her neck with murderous intent. By the next daybreak, he got up to find food while she, sensing something amiss, quickly touched her chest. She found that the key she wore had vanished. She stood up to chase but got tangled in ropes. Seeing her husband's ugly grin, she realized her plot had been uncovered. The man then strode towards the yacht, ready to abandon his sinister wife and return to the city alone. Strangely, the woman, free from her bonds, did not attempt to stop him, and he waved dismissively as he sped towards the sea. Unknowingly, a stout cord had become snugly entangled around a submerged stone just beneath the swiftly moving yacht, potentially creating a huge swell. Ha! The gentleman, recognizing that he had been outsmarted, was struck with amazement. As he made his way back to the beach, his spouse had skillfully fashioned a formidable crossbow using twigs and lianas, prepared to dispatch her deceitful spouse into the void. The woman squatted in the jungle crafting a crossbow, utterly unaware of her husband's approach with a wooden stick. He moved stealthily, careful not to step on leaves that might rustle and alert her. Only when he was close enough did he lift his arm slowly. Suddenly, a bird call drew her attention away. She glanced around warily, failing to notice her husband raising the stick towards her head from behind. As he watched his wife collapse, he felt no joy and immediately dropped the stick, standing there in a daze. Seeing her motionless, he nervously stepped forward to check, but accidentally triggered a trap she had set, leaving him dangling helplessly. After hours of struggling, the wife regained consciousness, looked up, and recognized her husband hanging from a tree. Memories flooded back, and disbelief and disappointment washed over her as she thought about their 10-year marriage. Furious, she picked up the stick, intent on teaching him a lesson. Just as she was about to strike, a distant roar reached her. Despite being on a desolate island with no wild animals, she realized something was approaching. Dropping the stick, she ran away. The man was still bewildered until a group of cannibals charged like mad dogs. Panicked, he struggled wildly, managing to scramble up a tree branch just as they closed in, narrowly escaping. He remained hidden until they were completely gone. Only after the cannibals disappeared did the man dare to break free and run for his life. Thinking he'd escaped danger, his relief turned to horror when he saw his wife with the bow and arrow lying in ambush. As he tried to explain, she fired a cold arrow. The swish of the arrow echoed and its force froze him in place, shocked by her ruthlessness. He attempted to speak, but another arrow came his way. Fortunately, the arrow only grazed his face. Otherwise, blood would have stained his skin. This moment of realization struck him. His wife truly wanted him dead. He had no choice but to hide behind a tree and peek around to see her aiming the crossbow at him. Quickly, he picked up a coconut and threw it with all his might. As it shattered, he seized the opportunity to dash out from behind the tree and run toward the mountains. But how could he outrun the arrows slicing through the air? Just as a rain of arrows approached his face, he grabbed a tree trunk to block them. The peril left him no time to think, and he dove into a cannibal cave, only to run into his wife head-on. Before he could react, she smashed a large honey jar on his head, leaving him unconscious on the ground. What awaited him next was undeniably more brutal torment. The man was making a call to his secretary from a tree when his enraged wife found him and started attacking. Nevertheless, when she observed her husband not moving, her irritation shifted to fright. She hurriedly flipped him over and initiated CPR, endeavoring to resuscitate him. In that intense moment, her realization hit that in spite of her previous fury, her love for him was profound. Waterfalls of tears cascaded down her cheeks as she embraced him. Feeling his wife's distress, the man abruptly jerked awake, taking in large breaths. The couple stared at each other in silence, understanding each other's thoughts. Their hostile gazes softened, so their real ordeal was just beginning. Escaping from the dangerous island was nearly impossible without a map and very little food. They soon stumbled into the territory of cannibals while looking for a way out. When they regained consciousness after being shot with drugged darts, they found themselves tied to sacrificial posts. The chief planned to burn the wife alive as an offering to the fire god, but knocked the man unconscious and set him adrift on the ocean as a sacrifice to the sea god. As the wife's pyre was lit and the man approached a waterfall, he regained consciousness. He acknowledged the imminent plunge into the chasm. Instinctively, he clutched onto a stone ledge and eluded demise. Resolute in his mission to rescue his spouse, he stealthily infiltrated the tribe, incapacitated the chieftain, toppled the flame beneath his partner, and extracted the pole from the earth, leaving the spectators in awe. Taking advantage of their shock, he ran towards the cliff with the stake and jumped off without hesitation. During their hazardous descent, the pair locked gazes anew, plunging into the ocean as the stunned cannibals looked on. They surfaced clutching the timber, inciting the natives who threw javelins towards them. The man deftly maneuvered the log to deflect the assaults, released his partner, and they dashed into the foliage. United! Without wasting any time, they grabbed a stolen canoe and paddled towards the far side of the island. Pushing the canoe into the sea, they rowed with all their might and escaped. Their shared ordeal dissolved any remaining distance between them, replaced by unspoken understanding as they left the dangerous island for a new life full of hope,